Hello everyone, this is Chris. I just wanted to make kind of an informal video here detailing my conversion story. I think I've talked a little bit about it on Facebook and I might have made a video at one point about it, but I just wanted to give a detailed kind of synopsis of how I got to the Catholic Church for those of you who are interested in what my journey's been like so far. And so, for those of you who don't know, I'm a convert to the faith, and I was raised evangelical. Uh, from the time I was born to when I was about 2, we attended a non-denominational fellowship, which my parents had gone to for about 15 years. And I really, to be quite honest, I don't really have any memories of that because I was 2 when we left, or around that age. And after that, we went to started attending a megachurch in our city in Lexington. And so from the time I was 2 or 3 to when I was 15, 16, maybe about 17 or 18 almost, I attended Southland Christian Church in Lexington, Kentucky. And yeah, really, my first memories of Christianity were going to Southland. And, it's a wonderful place. I remember Mike Bro preaching there. He was the pastor at the time. I can remember a lot of fond memories of that place, and just being moved by a lot of the sermons and being really inspired, and just having that, the praise and worship music, which sometimes I was into and sometimes I wasn't. So that was my Christian life for about 15, 16 years. Also going to vacation Bible school at my next door neighbor's Presbyterian church. I went there a few summers, and sometimes going to various ministries my parents signed me and my brothers up for. So, yeah, really for about the first 15, 16, 17 years of my life, I prayed when necessary, or, when I wanted something from God, maybe. I sometimes prayed at night, and I read the Bible when I wanted to, which quite honestly wasn't very often. Although I was always kind of fascinated, especially by Old Testament stuff. And so my first memory of any inkling of attraction to the Catholic Church came in middle school when I went on a field trip to a Catholic parish with my middle school German class. And I'm not quite sure why we went there, other than the fact that my teacher was Catholic. And I can remember very vividly walking into the church and feeling this sense of peace, this stillness in my soul, which that was the first Catholic church I'd ever actually been in. And I remember very specifically walking up to a statue of Mary in the parish, towards the front where the altar, near the altar. And I remember kneeling in front of her and praying, and quite honestly feeling this sense of inner peace as I did. So this overwhelming sense of joy as I did. And I remember afterwards, one of my friends asked me, well, Chris, why'd you go up and pray in front of her? And my teacher kind of scolded him, saying, well, that's none of your business. Which, I could understand why he would be curious, because I kind of just walked away from the group and walked up to the statue. There was just something attracting me to it. And so that was my first real quote unquote Catholic experience. And I can remember a few summers later in 2005, I would have been 15 years old then. I was talking with my brother, and for some reason I was telling him and my parents I wanted to become Catholic. You know, I don't really know why at the time. All I can say, and this has hit me in the past year or so now, looking back at those times when I felt attracted to the Catholic Church, I am convinced it was three things. It was, one, the Holy Spirit. The Holy Spirit was guiding me somehow, some way, reaching out to me and trying gently to pull me in to investigate this reality further. Number two, it was Mary. Mary, that me going in front of that statue and praying, not knowing anything about her, to be honest, other than that she was the mother of Jesus. I had no idea about any of the Catholic understanding of Mary at all whatsoever. And number three, I'd say it was beauty. There was this beauty about the Catholic faith I just didn't understand at the time, but I knew I wanted more of it. I wanted to really investigate it for myself. And so in 2005, when I was thinking about converting, my brother kind of talked me out of it. And To be quite honest, I'm kind of grateful he did at the time because I was pretty immature. And had I gone into RCI or RCIC, I don't think I would have lasted. I, it might not have turned out. Maybe it would have, but I don't think at the time it was the right decision for me. So I waited a few years, and in 2008, when I was 18, right after I graduated high school, I wanted to convert again. I was talking with my mom. I remember this specifically, and telling her I wanted to become Catholic. And my mom, she was definitely open to the idea. She wasn't close. I mean, I was 18 at the time, so a legal adult. But she kind of encouraged me to wait, and not just get into things and without being fully committed to it. So I put the idea off again. And so around 2009, I should backtrack a little. From about 2006 to 2008 or 9, I stopped going to church. I went to church occasionally in that time, but I would kind of make excuses not to go to church on Sunday with my parents, or sometimes, and I've already told them this, so I can go ahead and tell you all this, I'd skip church. I would pretend to go in, and then I'd just go out and sit in the car. So I kind of got, I don't know what it was with me. I guess it was just a rebellious phase where I just decided not to go to church, and I didn't want to hear what the pastor had to say, and I thought I could just find God for myself. And around 2008, actually, I this was a little bit after my time, or it might have been before my time in the Catholic. I can't remember. It was around the time I was thinking about becoming Catholic. Also, I began reading some of the arguments against the existence of God, and I began questioning a lot of things that I had been taught as I grew up. I had questions, doubts about God, about things in the Bible. And so it was a really good thing that I didn't start inquiring about becoming Catholic at that point. And so about 2009, I was an English. I'd switched my major to English, and I was at that time. It's interesting. I was thinking 2009, 2010, around that time, I was becoming more interested in British literature, British history, and culture. So that kind of rekindled my interest somewhat in Christianity, since that's kind of the history of Britain up until now. And so I began attending a Anglican parish, which was an offshoot. It had been broken away from the Episcopal Church USA because of the liberal bent that the Episcopal Church had taken. So it was an part of the Anglican Church in North America. I began attending one of their churches with a friend of mine, and I got really into it. I really enjoyed that. Really enjoyed the liturgical aspect of it. I thought, well, this is interesting. I didn't quite understand all of it, and I had my doubts about things such as infant baptism. I didn't understand that. I didn't understand why the Anglicans and also Catholics and Orthodox and some Lutherans place such a strong emphasis on that. And so I went there for a while, and then I just kind of gradually, I sort of still went, but off and on. And so in fast forward to 2011, in the fall of 2011, I studied abroad in England, and I was very excited about this, loved my time there. And I went to several Anglican churches while I was in England. I went to a high Anglican church. It was a very high church, incense. It was in an old cathedral in the city I was studying in. And then I went to a evangelical Anglican church, which was a whole different experience, a little bit like the megachurch I'd gone in, although much smaller. And one day, and the city I was in northern England. The city I was a very Catholic area of northern England, where the Resuscitants had lived during the persecution. And so there was a cathedral in my city I passed by often when I would just go out walking just to clear my head. And I can remember one day very vividly walking past that Catholic church, looking at it and thinking, oh, that's really pretty. It's beautiful architecture, Victorian Gothic. And then I walked down, I saw another church further along ahead, maybe half a mile down the road. And I assumed it was an Anglican parish. So I thought, oh, cool, I'll go walk to that. Maybe I can go there for a service on Sunday. And when I got up to the what I presume was the Anglican church, outside there was a sign that said "for sale." And I'm not quite sure what happened to me in this moment. It was almost, I felt as if this may sound ridiculous to some people, but I almost felt like God was telling me, look back. You've seen beauty there. Look forward. This is not where I want you. And so I felt at that moment like God was nudging me in a direction different than Anglicanism. That's not to belittle Anglicans or to make light of their faith, but I mean, there's a lot of beautiful traditions, wonderful liturgy, things like that in the Anglican tradition. But I felt like God was nudging me to at least consider the Catholic Church. And so I made that decision that I would. And so I began to, when I was in England, there was a Catholic chaplaincy at the university I was going to. And I began to attend Mass there. And again, I knew nothing about the Catholic Mass. I understood a little bit from having gone to Anglican liturgies. I recognized some similarities, but I still didn't understand Catholic theology. I didn't really understand transubstantiation or any of that stuff. But I still enjoyed the Mass, and the priest there was very kind, and he gave me a wooden rosary, which I didn't know how to pray the rosary at that time other than say the Hail Mary and the Our Father. So that was basically the first big spark that pushed me and convinced me, okay, it's time to look into this, to seriously look into Catholicism. And so in 2012, I joined RCIA after fiddling around with parishes for several months, jumping into RCIA program at one point. I started in the fall of 2012, and the first few months of RCIA were great. It was amazing. I was learning so much. I'm like, oh yeah, I'm really into this Catholicism stuff. I love this. I'm so glad I'm here. Well, around the winter of 2012, things began to get sour for me. I began to have doubts about the whole thing, began to just kind of question stuff. I had some issues in my life going on. And part of me just wanted to drop out and say, no, it's not now, later, I'll do it, whatever. But now I just need to get myself together, so to speak. And by the grace of God, I didn't. By the grace of God, I persevered, and there were friends there that were praying for me, and they helped me along, and they explained stuff to me, and had a wonderful RCI program there. So I persevered, and I entered the church by the grace of God at the 2013 Easter Vigil. And since then, it's been an interesting journey. I've done mission work. I've volunteered in places. I fell flat on my face plenty of times, and each and every time, the Holy Spirit's been there. The Blessed Mother, my guardian angel, they've all been there to pick me up. And so today, here I am, almost 3 years after my entrance into the Catholic Church, and I'm as happy as I've ever been in the faith. And I'm studying theology right now at Franciscan University of Steubenville, one of the preeminent Catholic universities in America. And yeah, it's been a long journey, but it's been exciting, every bit of it. And so, to anybody out there who's interested in the Catholic faith, who is Catholic but doesn't know a whole lot about their faith, I am going to make a series of videos, of catechetical videos, trying to help you all and to try to answer questions you may have, and just offer my perspective on things, and know my prayers for you all. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed listening to my conversion story. Sometimes I tell it better than other times, but it's just my experience of how God worked in my life. So take care of you all, and I'll pray for you.